My name is Nonopa Tenza. I am a managing director of Kevinot Farming, a mixed farming business that operates out of Matatiele in the Eastern Cape. I am a mom, I am a wife, and I am an accountant by training and an ex-banker by profession. The business is a family-run business. The name of the business comes from the names of my husband, whose name is Kenny, so the KE comes from his name, and then my daughter's name, who's 12, is Ivile, so the VI comes from her name, Ivile, and then the NO comes from my name, Nonopa, and the T stands for our surname, Tenza. So the business started in 2017, that's 5 years ago now. We started as a side hustle. I just started buying a few cattle, and it has been growing since then. We operate out of a state-owned land that was leased to my father-in-law over 35 years ago. Therefore, this piece of land has been in the family hands for the past 35 years. It is a 406-hectare farm, and 100 hectares are arable land, so that's where we grow our crops and we also grow feed for our livestock, and then the rest we use it for pastures. Currently we have 100 cattle, and we also have 200 sheep, and then we plant 100 hectares where we plant yellow maize, we plant sugar beans, and then we also grow teff grass and lucerne, which helps as feedstock for our livestock in the winter season. We currently employ up to 5 permanent jobs, employees that have permanent jobs with us, and during our different seasons we employ up to 40 seasonal workers to come through and help us in whatever whatever activity we do, whether it's harvesting or anything else that we need assistance with. Interestingly, the employment of seasonal workers also leads to micro enterprises that actually happen in the communities, because our employees actually sometimes prefer to get our produce as payment instead of cash payments, and then they go back to their communities to sell the yellow maize they've received from us or the sugar beans they've received from us. In terms of our market, we sell our livestock on auction, and then our sheep we sell to the local communities, especially during the festive season where people need sheep for their different activities. And then in terms of our yellow maize, we were fortunate to be able to secure a US multinational that is an off-taker for our yellow maize. We previously also used to export our yellow maize to the east, to Vietnam and China, etc. And then in terms of our sugar beans, we only have had one planting season of sugar beans, and we sold it to local markets as well. So in terms of where we are going as a business, we are clear in terms of our strategy, in terms of we want to build an integrated value chain agribusiness that operates out of the Eastern Cape in order to be able to create jobs and create employment and also impact the communities that are around us. We want to be able to beneficiate the produce that we produce. The yellow maize that we produce, we should be able to also process and get into agro-processing, process as feed for animals that we can then also sell to other stakeholders that require feed for livestock. We want to be able to get into the other different value chains of beef production, such as feedlots, and also start breeding. And in terms of our sugar beans, we want to be able to get to cleaning and packaging of sugar beans so that we can then sell to retailers. So that's how we plan to grow our business in order to be able to create more jobs and be able to participate in other aspects of the agri value chain. In terms of challenges we have in that particular area of the Eastern Cape is that we still don't have electricity and running water and even our road infrastructure. is still not the best. Therefore, we struggle with access to the farm. We drive on 40 kilometers of gravel just to get to the farm. Even just network connectivity is an issue, which becomes a challenge when we want to start using technology in the operations of the farm, because just the basic issues just around network connectivity, those are issues that we experience in the farm. So in terms of the needs that we need in order to take the business to the next level, one of the challenges we have is that the lease agreement that was signed with my father-in-law expired a while back, and we have been in the process of engaging government so that the lease can be renewed and signed with our business so that we can have security of tenure. The advantages of being able to have either a lease agreement or a title deed is that you are able to approach funders to be able to fund what you are doing, and it also helps you with long-term planning. We have goals and plans and strategies in place on how we want to grow this business so that it can employ more people in the area, it can activate economic activity in the area, but without that piece of paper, it becomes the first hurdle that we need to get over. And then we will also need funding, because agriculture is very expensive, especially when you start getting into crops where you need lots of mechanization. At this stage, we have 2 tractors, but we have realized that we need a bigger tractor to be able to do more, because we have expanded the lands that we are planting, and also we've been approached by our neighboring farms to contract, that is to assist them in terms of mechanization. Therefore, we need to be able to get proper equipment in place. We need our own harvester, because when it's time to harvest the yellow maize, you have to be on the waiting list for contractors before they can actually come to you, which poses a risk, because during those times there are fires, there's theft as well of the crop that's standing on the fields. So the sooner you are able to harvest your crop, the better. And also we've realized that some of the harvesters that we have been contracting, they are not of good standards. They're quite old, and they don't do a good job in terms of harvesting everything out of the crops. It leads to losses. Some of the grain actually gets left behind on the fields. So that's one of the big machines that we need to procure as a business, and it is quite a huge investment into the business. So far we have been able to invest in all the equipment that we need to be able to get us to where we are. But going forward and growing the business, we will need further investment. And once we get into the agro-processing space, that's where we'll need further investment in terms of just to get boreholes so that we can have access to water, for renewable energy, because the area where we are doesn't have doesn't have electricity, and also then to be able to buy the equipment that's going to be needed for agro-processing. So those are the major investments that we'll be needing to grow the business and take it to where we want to take it. Where I see the business in the next 5 years, it will be a thriving integrated value chain business in the agri space, where we will be creating more jobs than the jobs that we are creating, where we'll be doing agro processing and getting into spaces that no one in the area has gotten into, where the produce that we produce, instead of selling it and shipping it out of the space, it will get to be processed within the space where we are, the area where we are. We sell it to the area, to the local communities where we are, and also be able to sell it to other areas in South Africa and abroad. So as a business, we have been fortunate to receive a lot of support from the Eastern Cape Department of Agriculture, whereby all throughout these years they have supported us in terms of mechanization and input, year in and year out. By input I mean the seed, fertilizer, chemicals that we receive from them, and also as of this year in 2022 we were able to get support from SEDA with the flood relief fund that was released to assist farmers who were impacted by the floods that were experienced in the KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape region in April this year. We had suffered losses as well because some of our crops were washed away, and SIDA was able to come to the rescue in terms of giving us support for the next planting season. So Kevinot Farming has been privileged to win the Presidential Award for the Rural-Based SMME of the Year. This is such a huge honor for us and recognition of the work we are doing in the rural areas in terms of promoting and growing the rural economies. And what it means is that we are definitely on the right track. It has given us encouragement and impetus to grow the business, to change the face of rural entrepreneurship. And it will come in very handy in terms of investing in some of the equipment that we need around the farm. So I believe that as South Africa, we really need to put our focus into agriculture. I think COVID has shown us that countries need to be very self-dependent in terms of producing their own food. Therefore, it's important that as many people as possible in South Africa should participate in agriculture. I always say when I encourage people to get into this space is that in South Africa alone, we've got 60 million mouths to feed. So we can never be short of markets. And then we have billions of people in Africa and around the world. So food will never go out of fashion. We need to be able to put the right energies, the right funding, the right support to agriculture in South Africa. And Kevinot Farming plays in that particular space where we are solving the issues of food security in the country, and we are privileged to be able to feed the nation and the nations of the world.